what we've been learning. And if there are any mistakes, please forgive me. They're all senior Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. And I'll try to speak something for my purification. So I was just reflecting when I first came to the Holy Name Retreat. It was said that generally this is like a hospital. Someone devotee mentioned to me that if you're damaged in your chanting, you have to get it right. So you have to go get yourself band-aid properly. You have to put medicine on your chanting. So this is like a hospital. And right from young age, I was very afraid of hospitals. I was like, oh my God, where have I landed up? Is it going to be like all that mind control stuff? I did not know. I was all thinking very differently. But generally I read a little bit Shastras. And from my young age, because I'm coming from South India, my parents used to always chant the Vishnu Sahasranam. And in that there is a particular verse where Mother Parvati actually asks Lord Shiva a very pertinent question. She asks, Keno upayena laguna Vishnu nama sahasrakam patet panditair mukyam shotum ichchami Prabhu. What it says is, she nudges Lord Shiva with her elbow. He is constantly chanting, perfectly like the arrow, what we are learning. He's chanting fully, aligned, body, mind, heart. He's chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. So she nudges. Do you want a translation? Okay. So she nudges Lord Shiva and says, can you tell me a very, very easy way? I don't have much time. Keno upayana, give me an easy way. Laguna, very easy. By which I can chant all the names of Vishnu, the 1108 names of Vishnu, in one split second. Shortcut, right? Shortcuts to chanting all the names of Vishnu. And Lord Shiva looks at her and smiles. And he says, Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Rama. She says that just by chanting one name of Lord Ram, and he repeats that twice, and we heard in the first Bhagavatam class that how repetition actually indicates that it's very, very important. So he says just by chanting one name of Lord Ram Nam, the name of Lord Ram, it's equivalent to 1108 names of Lord Vishnu. But when I was reading that, I realized that it is not only the earthly mortal beings who are always thinking how to chant better. It's in fact even the demigods. Even they are looking at an opportunity to come and be a part of Japa retreat. They also want to chant better. And in fact, we have heard so many times, and Srila Prabhupada also mentions it, and many other devotees in their lectures mentioned it, that the demigods sometimes are looking at an opportunity to come to Kali Yuga so that they can chant and perfect their lives. So there's a golden opportunity that we have this wonderful retreat. So the first thing that applied on my mind when I was thinking is the first lesson, the pillars of success, when it came about. I was really struck with the second point of the pillars of success, which was to say that we should come together with like-minded devotees and we should chant with strong chanters. And while I was reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and in the recent Kartik trip when I went to Vrindavan, one of the places that I always like to go is the Saubri Muni's ashram. Saubri Muni, as per Srimad Bhagavatam, was chanting and was also meditating, in fact. He was meditating, dipped inside Yamuna for many, many years. But he was not with other strong-minded chanters. He was doing it alone. And he was doing it amongst the fishes, the stingrays, the sharks, if they were. So he was always surrounded by these fishes, and he was chanting. So what happens when we are chanting alone? It's fine, but then there is more strength and collective strength when we chant with others. So Shaubri Muni was chanting alone, and one day he offended Garuda, who was trying to pick fish from Yamuna. Garuda follows the three regulative principles. One of them is excuse. But he is pure devotee of the Lord. So he was picking fishes from Yamuna, and one of the leaders of the fish went and complained to Shaubri Muni that you have to protect us. Please help us. And Shaubri Muni suddenly thought that yes, this is not right. And he got a little proud. He didn't understand what was the reason. And he told Garuda, if you pick fish from here, I'll curse you. You'll get cursed. The minute he did that, Garuda could have counter-cursed, but he tolerated. One of the other lessons that we learn, that tolerance comes when we are constantly chanting and Vedas. Garuda was always engaged in Krishna's service. He was tolerant. He could have counter-cursed, but he said, okay, it's fine. But what happened because of that is that Shaubri Muni lost his penance, his meditative postures, his properties, his gunas. The most important thing was Kaliya entered Yamuna at that very spot. So what we hear is that when we offend, when we are not chanting with other devotees, being mindful of our chanting, then immediately anarthas like Kaliya enter our heart. It pollutes the river which is constantly going towards Krishna. So again, we need to be reminded, coming to such wonderful retreats, that how we have to be mindful of heart, mind, and also the body. So the first lesson, when I actually read the pillars of success, it made more absolute sense that what we are reading is actually being in those simple photocopy papers. By profession, let me tell you that I make very fancy slides. I'm into business consulting. But first, when I saw these photocopies, I was like, this is not pretty much proper. But the content, the words in those photocopy papers meant everything. The first 6 points meant everything. So I said, maybe there's more. The day one happened. The day one was a wonderful narration of the arrow. And I was constantly thinking, because as Mataji said, Sachinand Maharaj took that particular example of arrow with the Vedas being the bow and the living entity being the arrow and the supreme target to be Krishna. And I was thinking, is it the only analogy that we have ever heard? And I recollected 3-4 months back, this was a realization. 6 months back, we all went to Pandharpur, which is a great city, a small village where Lord Vittal, Krishna himself, is standing on the brink. And they have a very beautiful connection with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because in his travels, he also initiated Tukaram. And since I am from Maharashtra, we keep seeing these devotees of Vakri Sampradaya constantly chanting and singing Lord Vittal's glories. So when we went to Pandharpur and we were standing in the line, there was this one song that the devotees were singing. And that song was in Marathi, but it had the same arrow verse. Tukaram was singing. He was saying, never go alone to Pandharpur, reinstating the fact that always go with devotees, always go with strong people. And he says, Veda, Veda, Re Pandari. Veda means loot. He said, get your sacks, get your burglary sacks out, get your big trunks out. We have to go and loot, steal. What do we have to steal? The Pandharpur. But he says, how do we steal? We are burglars, we are thieves. We don't just go in and knock and say that, hey, I have come to steal your house. No, we have to be very careful. So he says, let us make a dam, not with bricks and mortars, but holding hands together of devotees. Let's make a dam on the Bhima river. Morcheleva Bhima Tari. He says, let's make a beautiful dam next to the Bhima river. And let's gerao, or what would we say, let's just kind of put Krishna in the center and not let him escape anywhere. I was thinking this song, and the next verse made absolute sense. He says, Ghav Nisha Nighataka. He says, please note, take your arrows and please set your target. The same verse as Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, please take your arrows and set the target. Who is the target? The husband of Rukmini. Dara Rukumai Chavar. He is our target. And what's your arrow? He says it's the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. A small bhajan of Tukaram, but it clearly says, align your mind, align your heart, align your body. Surround yourself with devotees. Set your target as Krishna and try to shoot that arrow right at the center so that Krishna is yours. So this is very beautifully the arrow verse. It kind of reflected when I'm day 2, I was just listening. I said, yeah, this is what the devotees were chanting. They knew what they were doing. They seemed like simple villagers, but they knew what they were doing. So that also came in a very nice way. Then, when I looked at the first lesson that we learned, the alignment of body and mind, Mataji was mentioning how this constant process actually purifies our heart. And there's a very good example which comes into my mind, where there was a grandfather living in a farm and he had a grandson. And he saw his grandfather always going, reciting prayers, chanting on his beads, reading Bhagavad Gita. So the grandson one day came and asked, Grandfather, you're doing this every day, but I don't see any gross change. What's the benefit of all this? I don't see any change. Because the modern materialists today want gross change. They don't see subtle changes. They don't have the patience to be in the process for long and then get the changes. So he said, there is no change. So the grandfather said, do one thing for me. You see that coal basket? There was a basket out there with coal kept in it for a long time. There were only sedimentary rocks of coal in that basket. He said, take that basket, go to the river and get me full of water. And the grandson immediately said, looked perplexed. I know grandfather is cuckoo in the head, but this is too much. He's asking me to carry water from the river in a basket. He said, it cannot be done. He said, no, go do it. Okay, he went, took the basket, cursing his grandfather all the way, went near the river, immersed the basket, took it out. And what would have happened? The water just fell, just went off the basket. And it completely went away. And he came to the grandfather, he said, I told you. He said, no, now try it once more. This time he thought, let me apply some logic, let me apply some brain. Let me go quickly, immerse the water and run as fast as I can so that a little water can stay in that basket. So he went and immersed his basket and came out and came running. But by the time he reached the doorstep, there was no water. And he was puffing and panting and he was saying, this is not working, this is not helping. Can I get a bucket? He said, no bucket of water. I need a basket of water. And he said, this time I'll try again. So third time he ran faster. But he couldn't. And he just banged the basket in front of the grandfather. And he said, this is not possible. What's the use of this? This is not working. This is not helping. This is no use. Grandfather said, no, look at the basket very carefully. And he looked at the basket. He realized that the basket, which was coal laden with all blackish in color, every time he dipped the basket in the river, the basket became more clean. It became more cleansed. It became more receptive to understand where the holes are. What hole needs to be plugged where so that the basket can turn into a bucket, into a receptive ornament where we can receive water. So if you look at the analogy, it's very similar. Every time we chant, we immerse ourselves into the river of the holy name, our heart is getting cleansed. But we have to align, we have to see ourselves in that mood that it is getting cleansed. And when it's getting cleansed, then we know where the holes are, what are our mistakes. And when we plug those holes, then we can receive the mercy in full. So aligning ourselves into that body, mind and heart is very important. But at the same time, the day 2 relationship, that was a beautiful lesson. I was just reflecting again back to Pandharpur. Relationship, this small bit of exercise of bringing something to Krishna, how much Krishna values that particular exercise. And I was just thinking, in Pandharpur, one of the devotees was telling me a story about a chief barber. His name was Sena Nai. Nai means barber, Sena means chief. So he was a chief barber of that place. So there was king of Pandharpur as well. Of course, the king of kings is Lord Vitthal himself in Pandharpur. But then there was an administrative king of the kingdom. And he wanted to take service from the barber. The barber said, no, I work for only 2 hours a day. Then I'm interested in my bhajan. I go chant my holy name. I'm not interested in doing this 24/7 kind of shaving off your beard and mustache. But some people said, no, the king will pay you money. Right? You should go. He said, no, I don't need much money. I'm interested in my bhajan. So somebody went and ticked off the king. He said he won't serve you. And the false ego of the king came out and they said, I am the king. Call that barber now. And he came, saying the night. He said, you have to be my official barber. And you have to ensure that my hair is tucked and everything is prim and proper before I go to the court to attend the duties. And he said, but I cannot work for you whole day. He said, that's okay. You just work for 2 hours, but you have to serve me. I'll pay you for the 8 hours. He said, fine deal. 2 hours. I get paid for 8 hours and I can do my budget. He said, okay, fine. So one day he went, did everything proper, and he was good at his job. So the king really liked him. The next day, there were a lot of people who came for Ekadashi to see Lord Vitthal, and they were doing a lot of bhajans overnight. And he was continuously doing bhajan, his 64 rounds. And he forgot that the next day he had to go to the king. And the king was waiting, and he completely forgot. And the time was up, the time was getting late. And some people who were envious of him went to the king and said, you know what? He said no to you, O king. And he's doing bhajan somewhere. You have to punish him. The king was really flared up. His ego was up high. I said, I'm going to punish him. And then he came outside. He said, I have to do my hair myself. And he came to the well. He saw Sena Nai standing there with folded arms, bending his head with a razor in his hand. He said, how can I help you? I've been waiting for you all the day. He said, how come you're here? Okay, do it quickly, I'm getting late. So he sat down. And the barbers, they hold your head and they shave your head a little bit. So he held his head. The minute the barber held the hand on the king's head, the king started feeling blissful. He said, what is this shower of mercy falling on me? And he looked back, and he just smiled. And again he shaved. And suddenly he said, something is wrong. I'm feeling so much of bliss. And immediately the barber showed himself as Krishna and he disappeared. And the king thought the Senanai is playing some drama. He's just dressing himself, but he has got some magic paste on the head which makes me blissful. So he went back to his court and he said, call Senanai now. And at that time Senanai was coming chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. He came into the court chanting, and the king said, I don't want to see this. I want to see your other act, where you turn into a bluish boy with a razor in hand. He said, what are you talking about? I never came to duty. I didn't punch my card today. I was doing japa. And then he narrated the whole incident. And then everybody realized that a little bit of japa with the mood, with that servital mood and servital worship, Krishna was ready. Krishna came himself, turned himself as Senanai and was ready to do the service. We see that even in Rupa and Sanatana Goswami's pastimes. They were doing their bhajan and Krishna was there to protect them. So undoubtedly the holy name kind of gives us all protection. It gives us protection against all problems. And this was a very beautiful example again in Pandharpur by this devotee. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 6.2.18, and this particular thing refers to that. Krishna reciprocates to our chanting. He says, as a fire burns dry grass to ashes, so the holy name of the Lord, whether chanted knowingly or unknowingly, burns to ashes without fail all the reactions of one's sinful activities. Definitely that's not our motto, to burn sinful activities, as Devaki said. Our goal is higher. But definitely in the Shastras we get references very clearly that what does the holy name give us. And there's another story that comes to my mind, that how this sinful activity gets eliminated. There was once a Brahmana, but not proper in his practice. He had all kind of nefarious activities going on. But he had read the Shastras, so he knew that whatever you have to offer, you have to offer for Krishna. So once he was walking down the road, and he saw a very beautiful lotus flower. And it was in a swampy river-like place. So he lifted his dhoti and he said, this flower, I'm going to give it to not my wife, the other person. Just thinking like that. And the minute he went, he struggled a lot, went into the swamp, made his dhoti dirty, and he was about to pluck the flower. The dams were opened up, the river started flowing, and it took the lotus away from him. He swam towards it, but the lotus flower again went away. So he said, damn it, my luck, today is not my luck. But he was a Brahmana. He said, if I don't get it, let me at least offer it to Krishna. So he took somewhat, this is some of the mentality. If I don't get it, okay, let's give it to you. So he took some water and he just said, Govindaya Namah, Govindaya Namah, Govindaya. And he continued his nefarious activities for the rest of his life until Shrik and Shok came to visit him. The Yamadutas came to visit him and picked him to Yamaduta. And the Yamadutas have, Lord Yamaraj has his personal servant who is called as Chitragupt. He kind of keeps a diary. So he came and he said, I'm a Brahmana, why am I here? He said, you have a lot of sinful activities. He said, how many? He said, show me your diary, Chitragupta, how many? He said, I don't have a diary for you, sir. You have an entire library. You have a full library full of sins. He said, oh my God. He He said, so what's the verdict? I don't have time for all this. What's the verdict? He said, you get at least 100 years, earthly years, in hell because of your nefarious activities. But you get 5 minutes in heaven. He was shell-shocked. You said 5 minutes in heaven? Where did I get from? Even I didn't count that. Where did I get that from? He said, while you were going for that flower, you said 3 times, Govinda Nama, Govinda Nama, Govinda Nama. You chanted once Hare Krishna, maybe. So that gives you 5 minutes in heaven, by the way, because all of your nefarious activities. So what do you want to take first, the hell or the heaven? He said, definitely the heaven. I want to go to the heaven. So the message was passed to Indra. And Indra got the special fax message that this is a special customer coming only for 5 minutes. Never has been this time. And everybody came outside the gates of Indra. The Indrani was there. The Apsaras were happy. We just had to dance for 3 minutes. We're so happy. We don't have to dance so long. The cooks were happy. What will he eat? Not the full chapan bowl, only 1 or 2. So everybody came outside. He was coming. The Yamadusas were carrying him. He said, now for 5 minutes you are in heaven. And he looked here and there. He came running. He said, are you Indra? He said, yeah, I'm Indra. What do you want? You want to see the dance? You want to see the prasadam? You want to say? He said, no, you wasted my 30 seconds already. Give me a sword. And Indra was taken aback. Give you a sword? Why do you need a sword? He said, now you're talking for 30 seconds more. You wasted my 1 minute. I have just 4 minutes. Give me a sword. He looked at others. And Varuna Agni said, okay, give him what he wants. He's just a 5-minute customer. So they gave him a sword. And he said, show me where your garden is. He said, there is the Nandan one. Go there. He took the sword and started cutting the flowers. Govinda Nama, Govinda Nama, Govinda Nama, Govinda Nama, Govinda Nama. For 5 minutes, people were saying, what are you doing? You're destroying our garden. He said, no, I have got 5 minutes. You cannot stop me. 4 minutes, he started cutting. Govinda Nama, Govinda Nama, Govinda Nama. And at the end of 5 minutes, the Vaikuntha planes came. The Yamaduta, Snick and Shah, go back. The same person. We're taking him. Because he said so many holy names. Same words. Unknowingly burns to ashes without fail all the reactions of one's sinful activities. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.2.18. But what about the people who are actually chanting with cognizance? This is for all examples of those who are not chanting with cognizance. They do not know that they are chanting. But if you are chanting with the second hour, the rendering of service, with the mood of service, that makes it more apt and wonderful. Comes to mind one more example of a lady. She was a simple milkmaid. She used to cook for her father, very poor background. She didn't have much to do, so she used to cook for her father. And she used to milk the cows, take some milk in a can of aluminium can. She used to take some milk. And she used to cross the river for a brahmana who was standing there and doing his puja. She always wanted to serve him. So she wanted to go and give this can of milk to him so that he can use it for his paraphernalias and pujas. But to do that, she had to cross the river. The brahmana was on the other side of the river. So every day she would be dependent on a boatman to make her cross the river and so that she can reach there in time. But sometimes the water level used to be high, the boatman used to be missing, and she used to become late. So 1 or 2 times when she became late and she reached the Brahmana was very puffed up with false ego. He said, do you know who I am? I'm a Brahmana. I chant the Vedic mantras. Right? Don't give me these petty excuses that the boatman was not there. By chanting the holy name, you can cross an ocean and you can't cross a river. He chastised like that. But that lady took that verse in the mood of service. She understood, okay, maybe by chanting, I can cross the river. She was very ignorant, but she took that message right inside. What we heard through the lips entered the heart radically. And the next day, when the boatman was missing, she just chanted. And she walked on the water and crossed. And the Brahmana was completely amazed looking at her walking on water while chanting. And he said, "How did you do it?" He said, "You are the one who gave me this. Why don't you try it for yourself?" He said, "If I gave it, it should work." He said, "Let me follow you." And he started chanting, but after 2 steps, he plunked into the river completely. And the lady said, "You're not chanting with the mood of service. If you chant with the mood of service, you can cross the material ocean, and this is just a small river." The same instruction, but with that mood of service makes a whole lot of difference. And Krishna, when we chant with the mood of service, ensures that he destroys our pride with a sledgehammer. He will ensure that he will do that. Even if we try high, he will pledge, and that's the earthquake. And such an earthquake came not only for devotees, even for the greatest personalities. That makes me remember one more pastime. And Narada is very clever. He is the greatest instrument in ensuring that devotees' pride is completely conquered. So once he went to Dwarka, he saw Satyabhama dressing herself very well, putting the makeup, making her Greek braids very nicely, putting nice little flowers. She always wanted to compete a little bit. She got a little bit of pride. Not that she's always in pride, but she had a little bit of pride with Rukmini, who was the major queen, the first queen of Dwarka. Rukmini on the other side was humble, always serving. Satyabhama came from a little high aristocratic living. Her father was Satyajit. He had the Shamantaka jewel which could make so much of gold. So she was always a little bit saying, "I have a lot of wealth coming up and I'm in Dwarka," right? All of that. Because Rukmini was opulence, wealth, everything. So she had this. So Narada came there understanding that Krishna wants to teach a lesson. So he came and he said, and Narada is very good at his words. He said, "I do not know, Satyabhama, but I think it's my old age. Or I'm not able to see. Is Krishna not valuing you that much?" I mean, that was enough for Satyabhama. He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "No, I think that Rukmini is always serving Krishna, but not you. Won't you like to serve Krishna the most?" And Satyabhama was like, "Narada, you tell me what you want. I want to ensure that I serve Krishna, undoubtedly." And Narada said, "Let's make a plan. You make a vow that you give Krishna to me as a slave. But, in fact, to win him back, if you trade with me some of your riches, you can get Krishna back." So what he said was, you can make a vow that you make Krishna my slave, that Narada's slave. But if you want to win Krishna back, you have to give something back. And when you give all your wealth, Krishna will see that how much you are wanting him, and he will start loving you more. And Satyabhama said, "That's the plan I was looking for. The plan of plans. That's the perfect thing that I was looking for." So he immediately, she called the court, everybody came in, and she told Krishna. Krishna was smiling, he already knew the plan. Because he was the planner of the plan of plans. Right. So Krishna already knew. He said, "Yes, Bhama, what should I do?" He said, "You have to become slave of Narada." And he looked at Narada. Narada said, "Yes, you have to wash my gamcha." You have to do that. She said, "Okay, but what's the vow?" So she said, "Okay, I've given a vow, but Narada, there you go, I've completed my vow." Narada said, "Okay, Bhama, I give you a special permission. If you can give something in return equivalent to Krishna, you can take him back." So Satyabhama was waiting for this. She called the scales out, which is actually used to, in the villages, they use the scales to find out how much is the weight, the balance. He called the scales out and he said, "Krishna, you sit on one of the pans, the scale pans." And on the other, she said, bring my lapis lazuli, bring my emerald jewels, bring my treasure chest. And they kept on bringing elephant after elephant. There were trunks and treasure chests. The people were bewildered at how much wealth she has, how much jewelry she has. And everything was stocked up one after the other, but the Krishna's pan was not even budging. Krishna was very heavy. And she kept everything that she had. She took out her earrings, she took out her nose rings, she kept everything, hoping that this will tilt the scale and I would get Krishna back. But there was no chance. She requested other queens. They were shell-shocked. They were seeing their husband being sold. Right? Yes, why don't you give? Why don't you give something? They all kept everything, but nothing would tilt. And Krishna said, you're really going to make me wash his gamcha? Or why don't you check with Rukmini once if she has the same thought? So they went to Rukmini and Rukmini smiled. She already knew Krishna's thought. She took a tulsi leaf, a small leaf, which doesn't have that much weight. And she just kept on top of the treasure chest the tulsi leaf, and Krishna's pan went up, boom. And then Krishna said, all those treasure chests did not have the mood of service, of love and devotion. But a simple tulsi leaf given by Rukmini had that love and devotion. So once that is achieved, then I am completely sold. So Srimad Bhagavatam 11.4.22, Krishna says, neither religious activity endowed with honesty and mercy, nor knowledge obtained with great penance can completely purify one's consciousness if they are bereft of loving service. So if you want to become more conscious, we need to develop those servicing mood. And we saw that yesterday personally. How by bringing small things for Krishna, there's this warmth in the heart. There's this wonderful warmth in the heart. So, service attitude is the most important. But one other thing by which I wanted to conclude is to say that the constant difference that we see in many Shastras, we always get these examples of how unknowingly somebody chants and they get a benefit. But now we are progressing. That's great of a holy name, but we are progressing. We are now cognizantly chanting. And we are not interested in material benefits. As in yesterday's class it was mentioned, we are not interested in material benefits. We are interested to progress further. Please accept me, as our Srila Prabhupada says. That's the only mood. So if you look at the Gaudiya Acharyas, especially Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I was just going through some of the songs that he had written. The constant lamentation when he realizes that he has established the connection, but he still has that lamentation. I would just like to read 2 lamentations of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and one from Kulashekara, and I will conclude. We can only yearn that when will be the day ours when we will also lament for Krishna. So the first thing he says in one of his songs, Tumi Sarve Sarveshwara, he says, you are my protector, maintainer. Except your lotus feet, there is no other hope. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one of our acharyas. He's constantly saying there's no other hope except your lotus feet. And he's chanting. He says in his Arunodaya Kirtan, which we sing when we go out in Mayapur in the morning, he says, drink the pure nectar of holy name. There's nothing better in the 14 worlds better than that. This is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying. And at last he says in one of his poems that, when will I buy? And look at the desperation of that lamentation. We want to get the holy name and ecstasy. But here, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, when will I buy? I'm ready to buy. Even if somebody is ready to give me, I'm ready to buy. When will I borrow? If you can lend me, I'm ready to borrow. When will I steal the ecstasies of the holy name? When will I lose myself in intoxication of holy name? When will I immerse in nectar of holy name after grasping the feet of a saint who constantly relishes the flavor. So this is the lamentation. As Mataji was saying, we have to do this before the circus gets closed, before the entire death appears. And Srila Prabhupada used to sing this beautiful mantra by Kulashekara in Mukundamala Stotra. He says, when the curtain is closed, don't expect that at the end I can also do some magic and I can do one like Ajamila and go back. Because at that time, Kulashekara gives a very important instruction. And Srila Prabhupada's one of the favorite verses. Krishna Tudiya Padapankaraju Madvaita Vishatume Manasa Raja Hamsa Prana Prayana Samaye Kafa Vada Pittau Kantavarodana Smaranam Kutaste. He says, when will I become like that swan who is always diving deep to get the nectar from the holy names? Because at the time of death, 4 things will choke my breath. Kapha, Vata and Pitta. These are the mucus, bile, phlegms. All these things will be choked up. And when the circus is going to end, the curtains are going to fall. I might not be even fortunate like Ajamila to just utter your holy name. So hence, the lamentation, the sambandha, the mood becomes more pertinent. So I'm very grateful that this opportunity was given. I could just share some realizations. And I'm very looking forward for today's session. What after service and rendering service? What do we get? I'm really looking forward to that. And I thank each and every one of you for patiently listening. If there are any mistakes or any sense of false ego, which I'm constantly thinking, as Mataji was saying yesterday, poison capsule, please excuse me. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Tatraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Shall we leave it at that? Or
Yeah.
are there any questions?
Any questions, comments, criticisms, counter comments?
Prabhuji, you have more stories?
Today
I can
is
keep
luckily not
recording.
Yeah. Gotta just check flip Bhagavatam, full of stories. Yeah. Verses, I can give it to you. Any other questions? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.